What's up guys, my name's Abdul Nafi. Welcome back to a brand new course, and in this one we're going to be learning how to make 3 realistic product animations inside of Blender 3D. Now the first animation that we're going to be making is going to be a headphone animation. So if I just played, you can see that it is basically the reveal animation of the headphones, and you can see that we're doing some orbiting shots. And after some orbiting shots, we're going to do an exploded view animation, and we're going to be doing all that from scratch. So if you're a beginner in Blender 3D and you want to take your product animation skills to the next level, then this course is going to be perfect for you. Anyway, after that, the next animation we're going to be making is going to be an animation of an iPad. So what we're going to be doing is that basically we're just going to be taking a model of an iPad. We're going to be animating the Apple Pencil moving on top of it. So we're going to learn how to animate using paths and all that stuff. And after that, we're going to do some orbiting animations and then some, animations of the iPad actually coming together with the keyboard and all that stuff. And lastly, we're going to be making this keyboard animation. So you can see that we're going to do some light animations. We're going to do some depth of field animations. And yeah, we're just going to be making an amazing keyboard animation. We're going to do an exploded view as well. So you're going to learn quite a bit in this animation as well. So overall, it's going to be a really good course for you guys, and I'm really sure you guys are going to learn quite a lot. Especially if you're a beginner or an intermediate user in Blender 3D, this course is going to be perfect for you. Now, the good thing about this course is that this course is going to show you the raw process of a 3D artist in creating art. We're going to be solving all the problems and making all the creative decisions together in real time. So you're going to learn my actual process as a 3D artist when I'm actually making art, right? So I think that's going to be really helpful for you guys, especially because you're going to learn new workflow techniques. You're going to learn some keyboard shortcuts that you may not already know, and just general things to make your workflow more efficient. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this. I really hope to see you guys in the course, and I really hope you will learn quite a lot. Thank you. Alright guys, so the animation that we're about to make right now is going to be this one. So let me just play it for you guys so you guys can see what it is. And it's basically just the Surface headphones, Microsoft Surface headphones, and we're going to be making a product reveal animation of them, and we're going to be doing this exploded view, and we're going to be doing all this from scratch. So yeah, let's get started. So first things first, we're going to be going to the internet and getting a model for the headphones, right? So you can get the model from a lot of different websites. I personally prefer sketchfab.com. So I just went to this website and I just searched for Surface headphones. And you can see that we have these headphones right here, this model. I'm just going to right click this and open it in a new tab. You have a lot of these other options as well. Now, obviously, a lot of you might not want to make an animation of the Surface headphones. So you can just search for just headphones in general. And you're going to see that we have a lot of different options, a lot of different really good quality options out there, which you can choose, right? But I'm going to be using this model. So once you have selected a model, what you can do is you can just click download 3D model. And then you can just select a model, a format that you can open in Blender, right? So among all these options, I'm going to prefer GITF, right? Because that's personally GITF is my it's like my second favorite option after FBX. So I usually look for FBX files. If I can get an FBX file, then I'm probably going to use a GITF file. So I'm just going to click download. So once it's downloaded, you can just open the zip file, and I'm going to copy all these. So just select all of them, copy them, and I'm just going to go to my desktop and create a new folder. I'm going to call this headphones anim course, and just open this and just paste the files right here. All right, so once you have the files imported, what you can do, I'm just going to right click this because they're not showing up for some reason. Yeah, so you want to open a new instance of Blender, and in here what you can do is you can just go to file and then go to import, and then you can select GITF or FBX or whatever format that you have. Make sure that you choose to download a format which is available in here, because formats other than these Blender is not able to open by default. But yeah, so I'm just going to select GITF, and we can just go to desktop, headphones anim course, just go to wherever you had downloaded your model, and select this and press import GITF 2.0. And we should have done this before, but I'm just going to do it now. Just select the default cube, delete it, default light, delete that, and then camera as well, just delete it. And now you can see that we are supposed to have the model here, but we can't really see it. That usually because of one of two reasons. Either it's too small, so you can zoom in and check if it's there. It's not. And so that leaves us with the other option, which is that it's probably way too big. Yeah, you can see that it's absolutely massive. So what I'm going to do is that I'm just going to place my camera here. I'm going to right click this model, Sketchfab model, and press select hierarchy. Then what this is going to do is that it's going to select all the objects in the headphones. And then I can just press S on my keyboard to scale, and then I can scale this down. Something like that. should be good. We can go to our side view, press GZ, move it to the center, down there, and from this angle, it already is in the center, I believe. I'm just gonna move it a little down, something like that. GX, just move it in the x-axis. Perfect. So I think it is centered. It's not centered from here, so I'm gonna center it. GY, and that is perfect. All right, so some models that you import are going to have some like weird issues with the mesh or something, especially if you're downloading a converted file. So yeah, because we downloaded a GITF format file, it was converted by Sketchfab. So you can see that there's some problems here. So you can see that these parts are basically just divided into multiple meshes, but that's actually super easy to, my bad. That's actually super easy to fix. I'm just going to undo this. So you can see that this, we basically want this outer part to be one object and this inner part to be one object, right? So you can see that this object right here, and if I hold shift on my keyboard and click anywhere here, you can see that these two objects are basically part of the outer object, right? If I press G and I move it, you can see that this is the outer object, right? So I'm going to undo that, press Control Z. And now with both of them selected, what I can do is I can simply just press Control J on my keyboard, and that's just going to join them, right? So it was just a simple fix for, I think, a glitch or whatever that was that happened in the conversion process. But then we're going to select the inner parts. So just select this, hold shift, select this, and just select all the parts that you can see. And then if you want to make sure that if you've selected all the parts or no, you can, with all the parts selected, you can just press G and move it, and then you'll see the remaining parts. So you can, like, you know, just take a look. Alternatively, what you can do, another option that you have, is go inside the model and try to locate the files. So if you select this, for example, you can see that this is highlighted. You can see that all these other triangles, they're not highlighted, but this one is. That means this mesh that we selected must be inside this empty, right? So open this, and then you can see that these are the objects, right? So all these objects you can see are a part of that object, right? This inner part. So if I just move it, you can see that this is exactly what we want. With all of them selected, we can just press Control J, and now that whole glitch, that whole problem has been solved, right? Perfect. Now, so the good thing about this model is that this model basically on the other side, this side, it comes with, if I press G and X and I move this out, you can see that it comes with like multiple objects, multiple inner parts, which is good because we're going to sort of do an exploded view of this. Now, you cannot do an exploded view if you don't have parts inside, but I'm just going to undo that. You can obviously create parts on your own as well. You can just like open the model and like model some stuff inside. Also, by the way, just be sure to save your project. But you know, it's just easier if your model has the inside parts already made, right? So that's that. Now what we can do is we can just go to our viewport shading mode to see how the textures look. Now you can see that this comes with black color. I already made an animation a while ago with the black Surface headphones. So this time I was like, you know, why not just make it with a white or a gray headphone, right? So I did that. The way you can change your color in this is pretty simple. What you can do is you can just go to shading mode. And in here, you can basically just select any object that you want, like any object that you want to change the color of. I think you're going to have to change some colors like manually. It doesn't do it automatically, but yeah. So you can see that this base color has been plugged in right there. And if I open this preview, you can see that it's literally just a black color. So we don't need to like, we don't need to worry about any like texture or anything like that. But I'm just going to delete this. And now you can see that we have the color control here. And so you can just set this to whatever value you would like. I think something like that would be nice. And we can just repeat this process with all the other colors. Now this one, you can see that it has some texture, some sort of texture. I think it's some, I'm not exactly sure what it is, but if you want to keep this texture and if you want to use the same exact texture, what you can do is actually pretty simple. You can just press Shift A on your keyboard to add and then search, and you can just search for invert and just invert color. Just add this in the middle right here. And you can see that it's basically been inverted. Now, if you don't want it to be that white, what you can do is you can reduce the factor and it's going to get closer and closer to black. So you can just make it gray out of this, right? So looking good. Perfect. Now let's select this part and do the same thing with this. Let's see if it has any textures. Yeah, you can see that this also has some textures. So what we can do is we can just simply press Shift A, search, invert color, and then just add this right here. And factor 1 is too much. What I'm going to do, I'm going to go back here and just copy this factor value. So I'm just going to set it to something like 0.6 8, and then I can make sure that all of my invert color nodes have the same value, 0.68, so it can like be, you know, uniform across the board. And now this is very, very interesting because you can see that this has this whole texture, this whole like ear cup texture. So again, what we're going to be doing is that we're just going to be adding invert color, and this is like essential to, it's essential to use a hair because obviously we don't want to lose this texture. 0.68, that should be good. We can make tweaks to this later on when we're like doing like the lighting and everything, but I just want to get like a general sort of get in the general like ballpark of what we're trying to do, and then we can obviously, you know, tweak it later on. And so again, this because it's just a plain texture, we don't need to use invert color in this, so I'm just going to delete that, and we can just change the color to whatever we want. Now you can see that this is extra metallic for some reason, so we can, what we can do to sort of now again, it depends on you, it depends on your product or like whatever look you're going for, but I'm just gonna unplug this metallic value, and then we can sort of control the metallic on our own. So I'm going to set it to something like that, 0.12, let's say, because I do want it to be a little metallic but not a lot, you know, so that's good. Again, we can tweak this later on as much as we like, but yeah, for now we're looking good. So this, again, we're gonna have to use invert color, factor of 0.68. Same with this. I want to see if I can like copy these nodes between them. Just place them. Yeah, I think that's better. That's a faster approach to do this. And just place right there. Perfect. Yeah, so our headphones are looking pretty good. The only part that's left is this inside part. And again, we're going to be doing the same exact thing. And hopefully to the other side as well. Yeah. Now this inner part, I do want it to be a little darker. So I'm just going to make it like something like that, 0.4. I think that should be good. And then we can go back to our layout mode. And now you can see that our headphones are white and they're looking pretty good. So next up, what we're going to be doing is that I'm just going to set up like a basic lighting setup, just to make sure that this texture, these materials look good. Then we can move on to the animation and then all that stuff, right? So I'm going to go to my rendered viewport mode. We can go to our render settings. We can change the render engine to cycles. I'm going to be using cycles for this, but you can obviously use Eevee if you want. Quality is going to be less, but it's going to be a real-time render. The device, I'm going to set it to GPU compute. Be sure to do that if you have a GPU. Also, there's one setting I want to talk about, which I mean, I don't know why it took me that long to figure it out, but yeah. So if you go to edit and then preferences, and then you go to what was it? It was, I think, yeah, system. If you go to system, and if you have an if you have a NVIDIA RTX graphic card, make sure to set it to optics, right? Because if it's set to like CUDA or any of these other ones, it's not gonna perform as good. And a lot of people like ask me whether they should like turn the CPU on as well, or they should like just leave it off. So what you can do is you can take an image, make a scene, right? Render it with just the GPU, and render it with both of them enabled like this, and just see which one's faster. So sometimes in some computers, what's going to happen is that your CPU is not going to be as fast as the GPU. It's not going to be able to keep up, and so the GPU is going to have to like sort of like slow down to like sort of stay with the CPU, and like it's just gonna like, you know, mess things up. But what you can do is you can just try it out, see what works, and if it's faster with like both of them turned on, then turn both of them on. Otherwise, just leave the GPU on. But yeah, so that's that. And also, I'm not sure what the setting would be for AMD graphic cards because I have never used an AMD graphic card, but you can probably just Google that or something. Okay, so that's that, and let's go ahead and add some lights. But before that, I'm just gonna go to the world settings, change the color to just black because I want the lighting, I want to do like all the lighting by myself, like from scratch. And one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to right click anywhere here and just click vertical split and just split it across the middle. So I can like, in one of these I can have like the preview of my headphones, and the other one I can use to like sort of place lights and all that stuff. All right, so that's that. After that, what we're going to be doing is that we're just going to go and add a camera first. So I'm just going to add a camera, go inside the camera, just click right here, open this like menu, and then lock camera to view. I'm assuming you already know what we're doing because we're just trying to like place the camera. And also one thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go to my output settings, change the resolution X to 1080 as well. just to have like a square frame, just so we can see better. I think that should be good. And another thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go to my camera settings and just increase the focal length to something like 100 millimeters. 100 millimeters for me is like a really good spot for like product renders and like product animations and all that kind of stuff, because I think it gives you like that tight look, which I think looks really nice. Unless you're going for like a different look, then that's totally up to you. So I'm going to set my camera right there, but I'm not really sure if it's a good position because we don't have any lights. So let's go ahead and add our lights. So I'm going to go to add light, and then I'm going to go to area light. Perfect. Now increase the size, something like that. And I can also turn the guides off in this one so I can like, you know, have a better view. And so what I'm going to do with the first light, I'm just going to place it on the top like that, move it up, and then just increase the power something like 250 watts. That seems to be good. You can see that there's like some fill light at the back, at like some areas of the object. Then we can press Shift D to duplicate this and press Z to like move it down on the Z axis, and do the same thing with this. So I'm going to rotate this 90 degrees in the Y axis. So just press R, Y, and then 90 on your keyboard. Not 90, sorry, my bad. 180 degrees. And you can see that it looks pretty good. Okay, so that's that. And I'm just going to move this around to see what looks better. I think the center was fine. Okay. And now we can actually move on to the more important light. So that's going to be like, if I just duplicate this, place it right there, go to the side view, rotate it 90 degrees, move it ahead, something like that. And then rotate it around 45 degrees. So negative 45 degrees, and place it right there. And then this power, I'm going to increase to something like 400. Actually, 400 is too less. How about something like 800? And so with this, what I'm going to do, I'm going to reduce the size in the x-axis, and then increase the size in the z-axis. So I want to make this like sharper and more brighter, more like sort of concentrated, you know. And if by the way you're trying to reduce in the x-axis and it's not reducing as much, you can just simply click this global right here and change it to local, and then you can just increase it, increase or decrease it like along its own axes. So yeah, I'm going to set back to global. Okay, so that could be our key light, something like there. Now, before adding more lights, I want to discuss one of the problems that we have with like animation lighting. With a product shot, with just a still render, the good thing is that all you have to do is you have to just make sure that your object looks good from like just one angle. But in an animation, you have to make sure that it looks good from like all angles, right? Which is, in my opinion, is much harder. So yeah, but we're gonna figure out a way to do that. It's actually not that hard. I mean, compared to like just product shots, if you're used to that, it is a little harder and a little more, you know, involved. So right now, all I'm gonna do, I'm gonna duplicate this light, place it here, like this, and just reduce the power to something like 500, and then scale it up in the x-axis, something like that, because I want this to be like a fill light sort of thing, and just move it across like that. Okay, I think we're looking pretty good. One thing I want to do right off the bat is I want to increase the contrast of this image because it's pretty flat right now. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to my render settings, go down to color management, and this view transform, make sure this is set to AGX because I think that looks pretty good. You can also set it to filmic, but that's going to give you like a more flat, more saturated look. I think AGX adds more contrast and it's just better. And then the look, I'm just going to set this to something like high contrast because I think that just looks better. Yeah, so I think that looks pretty good. Okay, so I think our whole image is pretty dark at the moment. So I want to see how it looks from other angles before making any tweaks. You can see that it looks pretty good from like this angle, like this whole scene. But then if you look at the back, you can see that it's pretty dark. Now that can be, it can be on purpose. You know, if you like do like a darker shot, like a silhouette shot of the headphones. But I'm not going to go for that because I'm going to have like a white background. Also that I'm going to show you how to add that in just a bit. But so because of that, I'm going to be duplicating one of the lights and just placing it at the back. Not one light, I'm just gonna place one from this side and then Shift D duplicate it, press X, and then place another one right there. And so one of them I'm gonna increase the power as well. So with lighting, you want your lighting to be like to sort of just be like uneven across the object, so you can have like shadows and stuff. Shadows are really what makes your image like stand out and stuff. So like yeah, just never sort of be afraid of shadows, and shadows are sort of like your best friend when it comes to making your scene look good. um think we're looking pretty good. The only thing I want to do now is I want to add a white background and see how it looks on that white background, because usually stuff looks a lot brighter on a black background than a white background. I mean, that's just basic knowledge, but you know, we want to add a white background so we can see how it's going to look on that. So how do you add a white background? It's actually pretty simple. You can just go to the internet and you can search for white, and just like download any white image. All right, so just download any image, any white image that you want. I'm just gonna download it at my desktop. I already do have it, so I'm just gonna use that one instead. But you know, once you have a white image, what you can do is you can just go to your camera, go to background images, and just expand this, and then add image, and then just press open. Go to wherever you have that image saved. I'm just gonna open it right there, and you can see that it's not gonna be visible at first. We just need to increase the opacity, and then we can turn these viewport guides on, and then you can see that we have the background. Right now, you can see that you can immediately see how dark it looks. But also one thing that you can also see is all these guides and stuff, which I don't really want. So I'm just gonna click this drop down menu right here, and I'm gonna turn off extras, and I'm also gonna turn off floor and XY. Just turn all of these things off, and then I want to keep the text info because I want to see how many samples we're rendering and all that stuff. Turn off relationship lines, turn off outline selected, and then just turn all the stuff off. Okay, if you turn all that off, you're gonna have the background, which we want, but you're not gonna have any of the other extras that we don't want, right? So now you're gonna see that we really need to sort of bump up the lighting and make it look a lot brighter than it is. And this is where I would usually like pull out a reference or something. So I'm just gonna open the reference that we had. I think it was this one. You can see that in this, the lighting is a lot more. If I just open like one frame, like one good frame, like for example this, you can see that the lighting is a lot more like punchy and a lot more like brighter than it is in this. So we're gonna have to bump up the lighting quite a bit. So yeah, let's go ahead and do that. So I'm just gonna select, let's go to the front first and just select individual lights and just increase them to something like 1000, maybe even 1500, honestly. That's good. This one, I'm gonna increase it to something like 1500 as well. And the back ones, 1500. 300. But now you can see that it looks very flat and it doesn't look good. It doesn't look that good, right? So what we can do is we can probably like just remove these stop lights, just see how it looks without them. Actually, I don't want to do that. What I want to do instead is I want to remove one of these lights. No, actually that's too much. Or we can like reduce the intensity of one of these, something like that. I think that looks pretty good. And then the other ones, we can probably increase them even more. My bad, something like 2000, maybe even more. How about we do it 5000? I think something like 4000 should be a sweet spot. Also, the intensity of your lights, it really depends on how big your object is. So the bigger your object, the more light you're gonna need. If this object was like much smaller, you would see that we would literally be using power values of like, I don't know, like 20, 30, even 50. So the smaller your object is, the less light it's going to need. I mean, that's pretty obvious, but you know, if you're wondering why we're using such big values, that's because our object is pretty massive. And the look, I'm going to set it to very high contrast because I think we are lacking some contrast. And even in the post-processing, I think we're going to need to add some contrast as well. But yeah, I think our image is looking much, much better. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make this brighter, so something like 3000. And this, I'm going to reduce it to something like 800. Because you really want that contrast, right? We want one side to be brighter, one side to be darker, and that's just going to look better. And so I think our lighting is looking pretty decent in my opinion. This part, I'm not really a huge fan of, so I might just want to remove metallic altogether. I think that's better, yeah. And so compared to this, I think still this has like a lot more contrast. I think that's because I probably edited this. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I edited this in Premiere Pro after rendering it, and I added a lot more contrast. But you know, that's why it has more contrast. We can remove these bottom lights if you want, or we can just like reduce the power to something like 100. Because I want like some of those dark areas to have like shadows. Top light, remove that. Yeah, we don't really need it, honestly. And these lights, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to my local setting, local like settings, and then I'm going to just make these lights tighter so we can have like, you know, more shadows and like sharper lights in general. Yeah, I think it looks pretty good. Okay, so I think we are pretty much done with the lighting. We are going to make some tweaks later on, but I think for now we are looking good. Now we can probably move on to the next step, which is going to be the animation. All right, so you can see that our first shot is basically of, I think it's the left one or the right one. I think it's the left one, yeah. The left ear cup. And you can see that it's just like a revolving shot around the ear cup, right? So we can just go ahead and get started with that. So I'm just going to be moving my camera to that position where we want it to be. And one thing we can do is we can press Control B on our keyboard and just select this area so that nothing out of that area is rendered. And right away, one thing that I can notice is this has like a lot more, a lot less contrast. And so I just want to like spend like really short amount of time just trying to like fix the contrast first before we move on. The only thing I would want to do would probably be just reduce the intensity of this to something like 40, maybe like 50. And yeah, you can see that that just makes it look like a little better. Another thing that we can do is we can probably just increase, go to our render settings and increase the exposure to something like 0.1, maybe 0.3, something like that. And then we can also reduce our gamma to make it more contrasty, just like a tad bit. 0.9, I think that's better. And also another thing that you might be noticing is that it's pretty grainy here. So in order to fix that, we can just go ahead and go to our render settings, my bad. And then we can just increase the max samples. Actually set the max samples there, but remove the noise threshold. So if you do that, it's going to render for longer and it's going to give you better results. And another thing that I'm going to be doing is that, my bad, this light, I'm going to select this and just reduce the intensity to like 600. And yeah, I think that's better. Maybe even this one as well, just reduce it to 2500. Actually, no, never mind. I'm not going to do that one. It's just this part that I'm concerned about. This part is like, it's pretty bright. And that's not something I want. So how about we delete this light altogether now? That's not going to make that much of a difference. Or we like reduce the size of this in the global Z axis. I think that's better. I honestly think that's like a little better. Maybe a little bit higher, something like that. I think that's looking pretty good. All right, so now let's go ahead and start animating.